Most players will never reach Diamond, let alone Grandmaster. I've hit Diamond and have over 1,500 hours in the game. In order to win, you'll have to do things other players won't. Here's how to get ahead of 99% of players in Overwatch 2 and reach your peak rank. Overwatch is a really complicated game that is always changing. New heroes, new maps, new game modes, and fundamental changes come to the game every season. It can be tough to keep up, but here are some things you can do to climb. I don't want to waste your time, so we'll start with the single most important thing you can do to get better at not only Overwatch 2, but any game you play. It's the fundamentals. It's always the fundamentals. The fundamentals are the most important in anything that you do. In Overwatch, there are some fundamentals you can find in any shooter and some unique to only Overwatch. Here are the fundamental skills you have to have in order to do well in Overwatch 2. Play cover. I play quick play a lot with my lower ranked friends, and I cannot tell you how many times I've seen players standing out in the open waiting to be sniped by anyone with half a brain. Something a lot of players don't understand is that as you climb the ranks, other players will punish you for being silly. A better Widow will hit her shots, and if you don't grab a corner, bam, headshot. If you're a tank, you have a massive hitbox. Hide some of it behind a wall and give the enemy less ult charge. Always make sure you have a wall or the car or hell, a trash can to hide behind if someone starts to put pressure on you. This alone will greatly decrease the number of times you die in a game. The next fundamental is high ground. So many players sit on the low ground and do nothing but shoot a shield or the tank and die. Don't be that guy. High ground gives you some great advantages. It makes you harder to hit and the enemies easier to see. On the high ground, less of your character is visible to an enemy. You also have an easy retreat if you get poked out. Crouch and back up and all of a sudden you're invisible. Enemies who thought they were safe behind a shield are suddenly exposed. They have to aim up at you, which is generally harder, while you have an easy time aiming down at them. You make yourself harder to get to and dive. I'm sure you've played games where a soldier on a piece of high ground basically single-handedly wins his team the game because your team can't figure out a way to deal with him. High ground control is pivotal to a game of Overwatch, and especially so on these maps. Overwatch 2 is a game about big abilities with big impacts. Being able to track your enemies' ults and abilities is super important for success. The timings in the game often revolve around these big cooldowns. Learn the timings for the most important abilities in the game, most of which are support abilities. Then you'll also want to learn roughly how long it takes for each character to build their ult. This is something that will come with time, but pay attention to these things. Supports are traditionally the ones responsible for ult tracking, so if you're a support, you'll especially want to focus on this, but it is super helpful for anyone to be able to ult track. Ability tracking is a core part of Overwatch 2's gameplay. You need to be able to make moves against the enemy when their most useful abilities are off the field. That's why you hear people make callouts like no lamp, no Suzu, tracer no recall. You get the gist. We'll talk about comms later, but another important aspect about abilities and ults is what's called the Ult Economy. This is essentially how you, as a team, manage your ults. Don't use all of them in one fight. Use pings or comms to let others know you plan to use your ult this fight. If your team has used 3 ults already, you should probably save yours. If you're a Zen and they have a Genji, don't use Transcendence until he uses Blade. In general, if you know the enemy has a big threat and you have a counter, don't use that counter until the enemy pulls out the threat. It sounds really obvious, but you would be surprised how often I see a Moira use Fade right before I want a Blade. I get an easy kill and I am thankful for it every time. Another big fundamental for Overwatch is grouping and timing. Always group up. People in Diamond still trickle in. This is a rookie mistake. Don't make it. But it can be hard to know when to wait at spawn or to try to help your teammates who are still on the point. Here's some general rules to help you make a decision. When you die, assess your teammates that are still alive and in the fight, as well as the state of the game. Do you have the point? If no, generally you'll want to wait and spawn for your teammates to die. If they start to kill the enemy team, you can start heading that way. But if things suddenly start to go in favor of the enemy again, don't be afraid to turn around. If you do have control of the point, decide if your teammates will be able to hold on long enough for you to get there so you can stall and get more percentage on the objective. If yes, start walking. If no, obviously you'll want to wait and spawn. And remember, if things start going the wrong way, it's always okay to back up and wait for your team. If you're playing push or pushing a payload, these rules still apply, but you'll want to lean towards grouping up more often than not. Stalls happen less frequently on these maps, and sometimes the objective is really far away from where you are. Another way you can know if you should wait or group up is just to ask your teammates, hey, are we still fighting this? Is this winnable? And that brings me to our next fundamental, comms. Comms may not seem like a fundamental skill, but using voice chat alone has won me games. Making the right callouts or leading a team when it's necessary is a game changer. If you are someone who likes to blame teammates or feels like you don't have enough personal agency in the game, make callouts. People are generally willing to work together, make swaps, help you if you're being targeted, as long as you're nice about it. Because guess what? It's comp. Generally speaking, everyone is there to win. They want to win. If you feel like you know how to win the game, tell the rest of your team. In Overwatch, being on the same page but with a bad plan will almost always be better than being on different pages with a great plan. It's a team game. Working as a team is game winning. Sometimes you have to step up and be the leader of the team. People will be thankful they had someone leading even if you lose, as opposed to the usual disorganized way the game is normally played. When everyone is making comms and playing their heart out, Overwatch is the funnest game I have ever played. It's why I've kept playing all these years. But anyway, now that we have the fundamentals out of the way, let's talk about the real stuff. VOD reviewing. If you're unfamiliar with this, it's where you watch your games back and look for mistakes. You can do this inside of Overwatch, which is awesome. You can access your replays under the History tab in your career profile, then go to Replays on the left. If you're Diamond and below, you're going to see obvious mistakes when you watch your games back. If you play 10 games and watch just one replay, I promise you will get better at the game. When you watch your games, here's some things that you can look out for. Try and choose just 1 or 2 things to focus on when you review each VOD. Positioning, ult usage, cover usage, trigger discipline, timing, and the fights you choose to take. Again, I promise you, on even one VOD review session, you will notice countless mistakes you could easily fix. Next, if you're really trying to climb, you should only play a few games each play session, maybe like 3 to 5. I know this can sound counterintuitive because it takes a lot of games to climb and you have to practice to get better, but the truth is, you're really only going to be able to play at your best with your brain fully on, fully locked in for like 3 games. Hop on, warm up, play your 3 comp games, win or lose, just play the 3. And if you want to play more, then go to quick play. Then you'll have 3 solid games where you know you were doing your best that you can VOD review later and learn from. See, this is why most players will never reach the rank they dream of. It requires a lot more work than just playing the game. You have to practice, learn, and try to improve. It's tough. It takes self-control and discipline. And the truth is, most people just don't want to do those things when they're playing a video game. This video is really only for those that are super serious. If you're one of those people and you've made it to this point, I'll let you in on a little secret. I didn't get to Diamond this way. I got to my peak in the worst, laziest way possible. This is how I know all of the wrong ways to rank up. I'm much more than a casual player. I regularly watch Overwatch content. For a period of my life, all I did was play Overwatch and learn how to get better at the game, but I never really tried to implement anything. I always duoed or trio queued with people who were not as good or as passionate about getting good as I was. I was lazy, and I got to Diamond through sheer force, knowing more than my opponent and having decent mechanics. If you want to actually get good at something, you have to put in the work. If you're going to have to put in the work, be smart about it. Don't be like me. Take it seriously and be disciplined. Don't spend 900 hours brute forcing your way from gold to diamond. I hope you found this video helpful, and good luck reaching your goals, whether that's in Overwatch or anything else in life. Like, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.